Hey everyone, we are enjoying our trip to Greece and we are officially on day 6 and day 7. On day 6, we took an archaeological tour of Delphi, and day 7, we are traveling to Kalambaka. So on day 5, we stayed overnight in Delphi, Greece. So day 6, when we woke up, we started out with a big buffet breakfast. Now, we used Gate 1 Travel for our trip, and they usually are really good about giving you nice hotels that always include a large breakfast. And this breakfast included cherry juice that was really good. Now, we had to get one last look at that view we had from our balcony in our hotel room. This was our favorite part of this town, was the view from our hotel. Now, our day started out with an archaeological tour of Delphi. Now, our tour guide sat us in a circle and he started telling us the history of the site. Now, we are pet lovers and we really enjoyed how there were cats and dogs that were strays, but they were very friendly and well behaved. And this guy joined our circle and just stole the show from the tour guide. Everybody was watching the dog instead of the tour guide. Now, the grounds to the ruins were very pretty and they were full of different types of wildflowers and a variety of plants. And then our friend joined us again in a different part of the tour. These ancient ruins of Delphi also included one of the first banks in history and also the Temple of Apollo. Now, those of you thinking of joining this type of trip, just beware that there were a lot of steps to climb. Some of the people in our tour couldn't do it because it was just so many, and it was a pretty good workout to make it to the top. Now, this next photo coming up was actually an ancient column that Ray took this picture, and the sun is at the top and it almost looks like a candle. Now, the next stop on the tour that morning was to the Archaeological Museum of Delphi. And you see they had a lot of those stray cats outside, but they were so well-mannered and they just like to be pet. Now, this museum was beautiful and it had a lot of great pieces in it. And it was fun to take pictures of everything. But on this trip, there is a lot of history involved, a lot of lectures involved, and a lot of museums. So they do start running together just a little bit. was time to get back on the bus, and we stopped at a little seaside town on our way to Kalambaka. We ate at the Scala restaurant, and we had a waterfront view of the Gulf of Corinth. They did give everyone in our group a complimentary drink called ouzo. It's a traditional Greek alcohol, and when you put ice in it, it turns milky, and it had almost a black licorice taste. And then Vivian and Ray both got a fresh grilled bream. And then it was time to get back on the bus. Now, we've been on the bus a long time today, but our final destination was to get to the mountains and to see the monasteries on top of the mountains. And when we did start seeing the rock formations, they were magnificent. They were very beautiful. Now, our bus driver and tour guide treated us to see the views a little bit early because we arrived in Kalambaka ahead of schedule. So he decided to treat us to see the views early, and we did get out and get a lot of pictures, but the sun was facing the camera, so it was hard to get great pictures, but he did let us climb on a couple of rocks, and it's a little bit scary because it was so high up, but you did still feel safe. These were just really amazing formations you just don't see every day. And then we jumped back on the bus to get to our hotel that was actually at the bottom of the sandstone cliffs in the foothills of Meteora. Right when the bus started letting everyone off, we ran over to get some pictures real quick because the sunset was shining directly on the mountains at that time, and it was a beautiful natural light setting. And when we walked inside the hotel, it was very beautiful. It was actually the only 5-star hotel in the area. I always like to videotape the room at our different hotels, so those of you that are planning future Gate 1 trips, you kind of get an idea of the type of room you're going to get on these trips, because the trips are usually at a very good price, and some new people might be leery that the rooms aren't nice, but they really are. Now look at this amazing view we had off of our balcony. And then it was time for a big dinner buffet. Now, I usually like to show the dinners as well because this one was actually included with our trip, so we didn't have to pay extra for this. And they had a wide variety of food, and they always have a really impressive spread. And you can see I was near the end of the line when I was filming this because a lot of the food is already gone. Well, as you can see, all the food looks really delicious, and here's my plate. You can see I didn't go hungry that night. And then here's some of our group, Ray, Lori, and Jane, at the dinner table. All right, let's go on to our next day, day 7. Well, we woke up on day 7 and had to get one more look at that fantastic view we had from our balcony. And then we went downstairs to get another delicious breakfast buffet, and this is always included in our tour package price. We didn't have to pay extra for breakfasts every morning. Now, we usually have to be down at breakfast at 7 a.m., and the bus usually leaves between 8 to 8:15 every morning, so you do have to kind of hurry a little bit. And wait a minute, is that pizza I see for breakfast? And then even at breakfast, they had a huge table of desserts. And this hotel also offered that really good cherry juice we liked. Now our friend Jane brought everyone some chocolate for Easter. Our first stop on the bus was to go to a workshop where they made Byzantine icons. Now, the presenter gave us a demonstration on how they made these icons, and they actually used a lot of gold leaf. And then we had a few minutes to stroll around the shop and see if there was anything we wanted to pick up and buy. And they had a little bit of everything there, and a lot of our tour mates did buy items. And then it was time to get back on the bus again, and we had to make that steep trek up the mountains to get to the top so we could visit the monasteries. Now, when we arrived at the first monastery, we were greeted by some more cats. Now, we had to cross a small bridge to get to the entrance of the monastery, and it was a pretty steep drop there. Now, once we arrived, Ray is showing us how sharp the spikes at the door were. Now, the ladies had to wear wraps around their pants, or if they were wearing shorts, they had to wrap the wrap around them so their knees were not exposed. Now, when we arrived at the monastery, we did get to tour around the grounds some, and they took us into like a chapel type of room that had really nice paintings that were historical all over the walls and brass chandeliers, but we were not allowed to take any video or any pictures in those rooms. And also, all the admission prices to get in these different monasteries and the other sites we see are included in our tour price with Gate 1. We don't have to pay extra. And the WC sign stands for water closet. That's the restroom if you need to find one. And then we were off to our second monastery tour. Well, you were not allowed to take pictures inside the chapel area, so we're just going to show you the pictures we were allowed to take. Now, we were able to explore on our own outside, and you could take as many pictures as you wanted to in the gardens. Now, this tour was not for the weak because they told us there were over 120 stairs to make it to the top, and they were very steep. It was a very hard climb, and a lot of people were out of breath by the time they made it to the top. Now, the monastery did have a gift shop, so you could pick up little trinkets and souvenirs of visiting the monastery. And I picked up this really cool ornament of the monastery for our travel tree. When we left the monasteries, it was time for lunch. So our bus took us to the foothills of the mountains to this really cute town, and we walked around and found a gyro shop. So we decided to try that for lunch. Well, I should say everybody else at the table decided to try that. I ended up getting a burger, and they got gyros. Now, one thing about the burgers in Europe is they usually don't cook them very much. Like mine came very pink, and I took it back to ask them to cook it some more, and it still came back pink. So I took mine across the street, and I let this lucky guy have it. So right before we got on the bus, we found this little restaurant, and we stopped in and got gelato. We made several comfort stops, actually 2 on the way home, because at Gate 1 they're very courteous about stopping every 2 hours to make sure you get a bathroom break and if you want snacks or drinks. So of course I did find some toys at that stop, and I got a couple Playmobiles for my toy collection. So our bus is heading back to Athens, where we began our original journey. Now we stayed again at the Stanley Hotel, the same one we did on day 1 and 2, but this time we actually got a larger room. It had a big shower in the bathroom this time, and we were lucky enough to be one of the few that had a large wraparound balcony in our room, and we actually had a really good view of downtown and the Parthenon. So then we all decided we would meet at about 6:50 and we would go out for dinner. We had this little corner cafe on the side of our hotel that had a really good deal. It had these pizzas that were only €3. And then we went to the bakery shop where we actually sat down to eat our dinner. Now this place has the most amazing desserts. It's just countertop after countertop full of desserts, and they all look delicious, but you can't have them all, so you just got to pick and choose what you want, and everybody at our table obviously had a sweet tooth. We did pop into a little souvenir shop right across the street from the hotel to pick up some little keepsakes of the trip. And then just one final view of our magnificent view of the Parthenon lit up at night before we went to bed. Well, thank you so much for watching. I am about to go to bed and get some rest because tomorrow morning we get up and we are going to have a 4-day cruise to the islands in Greece.